Mortgage rates are still high, affordability is tight, and yet, homes in South Florida are still selling in 2026. So what's really happening? Because if you're waiting for prices to crash, you might be waiting a long time. Today, we're breaking down the real reasons homes are still selling, who's buying, why demand hasn't disappeared, and what this means if you're thinking about buying or selling this year. The headlines make it sound like the market is frozen. Buyers say it's too expensive. Sellers say they don't want to give up their low interest rates. And many people assume everything has slowed down completely. But when you look closer, that's not the full story. Homes are still closing every single day. Multiple offer situations still happen in certain price ranges. And well-priced homes are moving faster than most people expect. The truth is, this isn't a crashing market. It's a changing market. The rules that worked in 2021 and 2022 no longer apply. Buyers are more selective. Sellers need stronger pricing strategies. And timing matters more than ever. Some homes sit on the market for weeks, while others sell almost immediately. And the difference usually comes down to understanding what today's buyer actually wants. Because demand didn't disappear. It shifted. By the end of this video, you'll understand exactly why this market feels slow, but still moves. Let's start with the biggest misconception. A lot of people think high interest rates should stop the housing market, but that's not how real estate actually works. Yes, rates went from the 3% range to around 6% or higher. That change dramatically affected affordability. Monthly payments increased, borrowing power decreased, and many buyers suddenly found themselves qualifying for less home than they expected. And because of that, headlines started saying the market was slowing down, or even freezing. Nationally, home sales dropped to some of the lowest levels seen in years. But here's what people miss. Demand didn't disappear. It paused. When rates rise quickly, the market goes through an adjustment period. Buyers step back to recalculate. They review finances, wait for clarity, and try to understand where prices and rates are heading next. This pause creates the illusion that buyers are gone. In reality, they're watching and waiting. Many buyers didn't cancel their plans. They delayed them. They stayed connected to the market. They continued monitoring listings. They watched price reductions and tracked how long homes stayed available. And over time, something important happened. Buyers adjusted their expectations. Instead of focusing on what they could afford 2 years ago, they began focusing on what makes sense today. Budgets shifted. Location priorities changed. Some buyers chose smaller homes or different neighborhoods in exchange for entering the market sooner. Because housing demand is not driven only by interest rates. It's driven by life. People still get married. Families grow and need more space. Job opportunities require relocation. Divorces happen. Retirement plans move forward. Investors look for long-term opportunities. And many people simply reach a point where staying where they are no longer makes sense. Life doesn't stop because rates are high. And when life changes, housing decisions follow. In South Florida, this effect is even stronger. This is not just a local market driven by local salaries. It's a destination market. People move here for weather, lifestyle, and financial advantages. Buyers arrive from states with higher taxes and higher living costs, often bringing equity from previous homes. International buyers continue to view South Florida as a safe place to invest and preserve wealth. Remote workers now have flexibility to choose where they live instead of living near an office. In many cases, buyers relocating to South Florida are comparing prices not to previous local values, but to the markets they're leaving behind. That comparison keeps demand active even when financing costs rise. All of these factors continue to create demand beneath the surface. So instead of having no buyers, the market now has fewer but more intentional buyers. The casual buyers, the ones who were shopping because money was cheap, mostly stepped away. What remains are buyers with real motivation. They need to move. They have strong financial positions. and they are willing to act when the right opportunity appears. These buyers take longer to decide. They negotiate more carefully. They compare properties more closely than they did during the peak frenzy years. They focus on long-term value, neighborhood stability, and overall cost of ownership rather than just winning the deal. But when a home is priced correctly, presented well, and located in a desirable area, it still sells. This is why the market feels slower while transactions continue to happen every day. The speed has changed, the psychology has changed, but the demand itself never fully disappeared. It simply became more selective, and serious buyers still buy, even when rates are high, because waiting forever is rarely an option when real life keeps moving forward. The 2021 buyer and the 2026 buyer are not the same person. In 2021, low interest rates made borrowing cheap. Money was easy to access. Buyers rushed into the market driven by fear of missing out. Homes received multiple offers within days. Inspections were waived. Many decisions were made emotionally and quickly. Speed mattered more than strategy. In 2026, the environment looks very different. Buyers are more patient. They take time to compare properties. They negotiate more confidently. They analyze value much more carefully before making a decision. Higher rates forced buyers to become more disciplined. Instead of asking, "How fast can we win this home?" they're asking, "Does this purchase make sense long-term?" This shift changed the type of buyer still active in the market. So who is buying now? A large portion of South Florida purchases continue to happen without financing. These buyers are less affected by interest rate changes because they're not dependent on monthly mortgage payments. Many are investors looking for long-term appreciations or rental income. Others are international buyers diversifying assets into U.S. real estate. And some are high-income professionals relocating from more expensive markets. For them, real estate is not just shelter, it's a financial decision and a lifestyle upgrade. Another major group is equity-driven buyers. These are homeowners who sold properties in markets that experienced significant appreciation over the last several years. They arrive with large down payments or significant cash proceeds from previous sales. Because they're financing less, higher rates impact them less. They also tend to be more experienced, more selective, and more comfortable waiting for the right opportunity. This creates steady demand even when first-time buyers step back. South Florida continues to attract people who are making a life decision, not just a housing decision. Weather plays a role. Tax advantages play a role. Access to beaches, entertainment, and international travel plays a role. Remote work flexibility allows people to choose quality of life over proximity to an office. For many buyers, moving here represents a long-term lifestyle change rather than a short-term investment, and that motivation remains strong regardless of short-term market cycles. At the same time, economic growth continues to support demand. Job migration in sectors like technology, healthcare, finance, and professional services continues bringing new residents into the region. Companies continue expanding operations, and population growth creates ongoing housing needs. So yes, first-time buyers slowed down as affordability tightened. But the buyers who remained tend to be financially stronger, more prepared, and more intentional. The result is fewer transactions overall, but more stable ones. Today's market isn't driven by urgency. It's driven by qualification, planning, and long-term thinking. And that's why homes continue to sell even in a higher rate environment. Another reason homes are selling? Certainty. In 2022 and 2023, mortgage rates were moving quickly and unpredictably. One month rates were climbing. The next month, forecasts changed again. Buyers felt like any decision could be the wrong one if they waited just a little longer. That uncertainty caused hesitation. People didn't just worry about affordability, they worried about timing. No one wanted to buy right before rates went higher or prices adjusted downward. So many buyers chose to pause, not because they didn't want to buy, but because they didn't have confidence in where the market was heading. Now in 2026, the situation looks different. Rates are still higher than the ultra-low levels of previous years, but the pace of change has slowed significantly. Forecasts show mortgage rates stabilizing around the 6% range, with gradual improvements expected rather than sudden swings. And stability changes psychology. When people feel like conditions are predictable, decision-making becomes easier. Buyers can plan. They can calculate payments with more confidence. They can move forward without feeling rushed or uncertain. The conversation has also changed. Instead of waiting for the perfect interest rate, buyers are starting to focus on the right property and the right timing for their lives. Many now understand that interest rates move in cycles, and that leads to a new mindset. If rates drop later, I refinance. This idea removes pressure from trying to perfectly time the market. Buyers recognize that the home price and the opportunity matter more than locking in the absolute lowest rate. Because while rates may change in the future, the home they want may not still be available. Another important shift is expectation. For years, buyers compared everything to the historic lows of 2020 and 2021. But as time passes, the market resets psychologically. People no longer expect 3% mortgage rates to return anytime soon. Instead, today's rates are becoming the new normal. And once expectations adjust, activity returns. Buyers stop waiting on headlines. They stop trying to predict the exact bottom. And they start making decisions based on personal timelines instead of market speculation. That's why transactions continue to move forward. Not because rates are low, but because they're understood. Certainty brings confidence. Confidence brings action. And action is what keeps the housing market moving, even in a higher rate environment. This is where most headlines get it wrong. They say, the market is slow. But which market? Because South Florida is not one single housing market moving at the same speed. It's a collection of different price ranges, property types, locations, and buyer profiles, all reacting differently to the same economic conditions. When people hear that sales are down or inventory is rising, they often assume that applies everywhere. It doesn't. In South Florida today, the market is clearly segmented. Some areas are moving quickly, others are slowing down. Some are simply normalizing after years of unusually fast growth. Single-family homes under $600K continue to move quickly. These homes attract local buyers, relocating families, and first-time move-up buyers who still need space and stability. This price range tends to have the largest pool of buyers, which naturally keeps demand strong. Inventory in this range remains tight, and when a home is priced correctly and in good condition, it often receives strong interest within the first weeks on the market. In many cases, buyers competing in this segment have limited alternatives, so well-positioned homes don't stay available for long. Well-priced homes in desirable neighborhoods still sell fast because buyers recognize value immediately. They may negotiate more than before, but they are still ready to act when the numbers make sense. The difference today is not demand, it's sensitivity to price. Buyers respond quickly to value and ignore properties that feel overpriced. Luxury homes, however, behave differently. Higher price points naturally have a smaller buyer pool. Luxury buyers are less driven by urgency and more driven by preference. They are comparing architecture, finishes, views, and long-term value, not just availability. Because of this, luxury properties often stay on the market longer, not because demand disappeared, but because luxury purchases are more discretionary. Buyers in this segment don't need to rush. They wait for the right property, the right design, and the right price. When those align, transactions still happen, just at a slower pace. Condos represent another completely different segment. In many areas, condo inventory has increased compared to single-family homes. Rising insurance costs, higher association fees, reserve requirements, and new regulations have made buyers more cautious. As a result, condo buyers tend to negotiate more aggressively and take longer to commit. They analyze monthly costs more closely and compare multiple options before moving forward. This creates the perception of a slower market, even while other segments remain active. Many people don't realize that all of these segments exist at the same time within the same region. One neighborhood may feel competitive, while another feels slow only a few miles away. What you're seeing is not a market crash, it's a market split. Different property types are moving at different speeds. Some segments favor sellers, others favor buyers. Many sit somewhere in between. This is why pricing strategy matters more now than it did during the peak years. In a fast market, almost anything sells. In a balanced market, only correctly positioned homes sell quickly. Overpricing today doesn't create negotiation room, it creates inactivity. Experienced agents understand how to read each segment, analyze comparable sales, and price according to current buyer behavior instead of outdated expectations. In today's market, success isn't about timing the entire market. It's about understanding exactly where your property fits within it and positioning it correctly from day one. Another reason homes keep selling? Prices didn't collapse. Instead, growth slowed. After several years of rapid appreciation, the market needed time to normalize. Prices rising at double-digit percentages every year was never sustainable long-term. What we're seeing now is a transition into a healthier pace. Most forecasts expect modest price increases, small sales growth, and a more balanced market overall. And surprisingly, this actually creates confidence. When prices move too fast, buyers feel pressure. They worry about overpaying or buying at the peak. Every decision feels rushed. But when prices stabilize, buyers feel safer making long-term decisions. They know the market isn't running away from them. They have time to evaluate options, negotiate, and purchase based on value rather than urgency. That confidence brings people back into the market. At the same time, sellers are adjusting expectations. During the peak years, many sellers expected multiple offers within days and prices above asking. Today, successful sellers understand that pricing correctly from the start matters more than testing the market. Homes that are priced realistically attract attention early and sell closer to market value. Homes priced too aggressively often sit longer and require reductions later. This shift creates balance. Buyers feel protected from extreme price swings. Sellers still benefit from accumulated equity, and both sides are more willing to meet in the middle. That balance is what creates transactions. Not hype, not panic, not speculation, just steady movement driven by real needs and realistic expectations. And historically, markets like this tend to be more sustainable. They reward preparation, good pricing, and informed decision-making rather than timing luck. This is what the new normal looks like: slower growth, fewer headlines, and a market that continues moving forward quietly, one transaction at a time. If you're a buyer, you actually have advantages now that didn't exist a few years ago. Competition is lower. You're less likely to face multiple offers within hours. You have more time to evaluate properties and make informed decisions. Negotiation power has returned. Sellers are more open to discussing price, closing costs, repairs, and timelines. Inspection periods are back, giving buyers the opportunity to fully understand the condition of the home before committing. Price reductions also exist again. Homes that start overpriced often adjust, creating opportunities for buyers who are paying attention and prepared to act. This allows buyers to purchase with more clarity and less emotional pressure than during the peak market. The biggest mistake buyers can make right now is waiting for a crash that may never come. Trying to perfectly time the market often leads to missed opportunities. What matters more is buying when the payment fits your budget, the home fits your lifestyle, and the long-term plan makes sense. Because while rates may change in the future, The right property and the right timing for your life may not wait. If you're a seller, homes are still selling, but the strategy has changed. Pricing matters more than ever. Today's buyers are informed. They compare listings instantly. They know when a home is overpriced, and they simply move on to the next option. The market now rewards realistic pricing from day one. Homes that enter the market correctly positioned tend to attract stronger interest, better offers, and shorter time on market. Presentation also plays a major role. Professional photos, clean spaces, and proper preparation make a significant difference in how buyers perceive value online before they ever step inside. And marketing matters. Exposure across digital platforms, video, and social media helps properties reach the right buyers instead of relying only on traditional listing methods. The days of listing anything and receiving 10 offers over asking price are gone. But that doesn't mean homes aren't selling. Good homes, priced correctly, presented well, and marketed properly, are still moving every single day. In today's market, success comes from strategy, not luck. So why are homes in South Florida still selling in 2026? Because demand didn't disappear. It adjusted. Inventory is still limited, keeping strong competition around well-priced homes. Buyers adapted to higher interest rates and changed the way they make decisions. And South Florida continues to attract people from across the country and around the world who want the lifestyle, the weather, and the long-term opportunity this market offers. This isn't a crash market. It's a transition market, a market moving away from extreme highs and settling into a more sustainable rhythm where strategy matters more than speed, where buyers have time to think, and sellers who prepare correctly still succeed. If you're thinking about buying or selling in South Florida this year, the most important thing you can do is understand your position before making a move. Because every situation is different, and the right decision depends on your timing, your goals, and the segment of the market you're entering. So if you have questions about where the market is heading, what your home might be worth, or whether now is the right time for you to make a move, drop your questions in the comments or reach out to the South Florida Home Find Help Team. We'll help you understand where you fit in this market.